Hi everyone, I'm Shabeli. I'm a board certified anesthesiologist assistant, and in this video I'm going to be covering a year reflection of working as a CA. In this video I'm going to cover how I've developed professionally in 1 year, my finances, personal things. So if you're interested in that, keep on watching. This video will be a lot more about my day-to-day living, and then I'm going to go back to doing a couple more anesthesia basics and other things like that. So the first thing I want to cover is that it's been about 12 months since I've started working. I think I started working right after Labor Day, and that was in the Midwest. I took a job that got me very quickly credentialed, and it was awesome. That job was very overwhelming in the beginning. I did not rotate there. It was a very fast-paced trauma 1 hospital with, I think, maybe 28 main ORs and like 10 endo rooms, and they also had a cardiac team. So very, very big hospital that I started working in. It was great. They definitely did their best to like ease me into that fast pace. I think I started off in cystos. Eventually I was doing more neuro cases, of course, ortho, things like that. It was such a huge hospital, so much variety going on in that hospital. So that was awesome, but again, overwhelming. My first 2 weeks working as a CA, I remember I came home that weekend and I like slept the whole weekend. I would just recover. It was just so much sensory overload, like getting used to a new city, getting used to a new hospital, taking on more responsibilities than I did as a student. So big adjustment there, but after those first 2 weeks, it definitely felt like I started to breathe a little bit easier. It became much, much easier after those 2 weeks than the first month. So then I did about 3 months in that hospital. Again, it just got easier. I got used to the flow of things. I got used to the different staff that I could call in for help. The anesthesia techs, I got used to the system that they used to call for help or to send off blood. I got used to the other people that I was working with in terms of anesthesia. So I knew more of the other anesthetists, which was nice. And I also knew the anesthesiologist better and some of their preferences. So that was also something that I had to get used to and learn a little bit. So that was really good, really great experience overall. But the first 3 months, like the beginning part, it was a lot of me like catching up on my energy like on the weekends, but then towards the end of it, it was like I was going out more. It was much nicer, much smoother, eating out more, working out. And I'm gonna go into my health journey over the last year as well, but I was working out again, going on hikes. It was really, really nice. Such a great time that I had. That was the learning curve I had in that hospital. And then I changed to my more long-term job, and that was in Florida. So then I also had to readjust to the Florida hospital. But because I had already been working in a different hospital, it was a much easier adjustment than when I first started working in my first job. So it is an adjustment to get used to the different people that I'm working with, knowing who is who, what their roles are, who's the first assist, the PAs, and the surgical team, the circulators, knowing their names, knowing where I can get certain meds that I would like to use that might not be in a traditional Pyxis, communicating with anesthesia techs, communicating with my anesthesiologist, getting used to my new co-workers, the other anesthetists and CAs there. So another adjustment, but I feel like it was much smoother than my first job. It was better, but it still took me a little bit just to get the rhythm of my new hospital. So since then, overall, it's much better now when you're out. I have a better relationship with the circulating nurses, the PACU nurses, the anesthesiologists, the anesthesia itself. I'm better with my speed. I'm better with my intubations. I'm working through analgesia, how much to give without over-narcotizing or under. Definitely incorporated Toradol into one of my toolkits that I can use that are not narcotics that can provide pain relief. That's been a big help. I feel like adding an adjunct like that really helps reduce the number of narcotics and reduce the pain. So that's something that I've worked on. I'm working on getting patients comfortable, not nauseous, getting them through surgery that much quicker. So I'm trying to get a good hold of that in terms of anesthesia, and just also smooth out little things. Do my best to make the intubation as smooth as possible, the mask ventilation as smooth as possible. I have smaller hands. So I remember when I was rotating, some preceptors would tell me small hands are gonna be more of a challenge to mask ventilate. So I've been working on little things to help with that. So smoothing out all of the things that I've learned during clinicals and during school, I'm just smoothing it out now. And I'm also teaching, so that's a crazy thing to do too, to now switch from the role of being the student to now be the teacher and be respectful, but also be providing constructive feedback to students. That's something else to learn. I can see the difference for sure with students and who I am today, which is interesting because again, been a year and it's crazy the learning curve that you can get. I do see an improvement on talking to patients, the speed that I do things overall, efficiency overall. So it's really nice to see the improvements and progress in myself. So again, smoothing out the anesthesia, but also I'm smoothing out my interpersonal relationship skills That's such a huge thing in healthcare. Respectfully disagreeing with people, trying to communicate my voice in a respectful way. So I'm working on that because I am younger, I'm more soft-spoken. If I do disagree with something, I do want to communicate that and not feel like my voice isn't being heard. So I'm working on being more vocal if I think there's something that I disagree with. So that's something that I've been improving on, but not just in terms of disagreements, but also in the operating room. I've been working on being more vocal with the OR staff for the room. I know that I may need to ask for people for some help, but I do my best to prepare myself so that if a circulator nurse is busy and trying to help the surgical team, I'm not also putting more workload on her or him in terms of what I'm requesting. So I'm trying to be very respectful and also like jump in on the conversations, because the operating room can be a really fun place. I would say there's a lot of lighthearted humor that we'll have in the OR, and so I'm trying to slowly ease my way into adding to that conversation. I am definitely more reserved. So my parents are from Mexico. They immigrated here, they were born in Mexico, and I'm the first generation that has been born into the United States. I'm definitely finding my place in having a career and being someone with more responsibility and authority and finding my voice. I'm jumping into conversations and being more natural, being more of myself. At the same time, I know that I'm trying to be very respectful and responsible, but I'm also trying to keep the energy positive and jump in and like make a little joke or sing the songs or like suggest kind of music, like little things. My parents are blue collar workers, so this is really not a space that I'm used to being in. So I'm working on not just the anesthesia, but the interpersonal skills that come with having a career and workplace appropriate conversations. I've honestly been on the opposite end where I haven't really said much. So now I'm trying to ease my way into being more vocal. I think it's important to get along with my coworkers, whether they're anesthetists or anesthesia personnel. I also want to get along with the OR staff, with the surgeons, with the nurses. So I really want to open up more, so I'm focusing on that a little bit too, and being helpful all around when I can be, always respectful. Now focusing on refining things, my interpersonal skills, and of course being a good teacher when I can be. Another thing that I'm trying to work on professionally is improving my skills, improving my use of the ultrasound in terms of arterial lines. If I get chances to do them, I really want to be understanding that kind of technology better. So I'm planning on taking a class for that, continued education course for that next year. So hopefully I can improve my skills. I get to do spinals in my hospital, so I'm really happy about that. I feel like my spinal placement overall has improved. It's smoother, it's quicker. So overall, my skills, I feel like have improved a lot. In my first job, every single patient I had to put in an IV, my first patient of the day. So that was really nice. I also want to move towards tougher cases, things like that I'm working on. Also being very neat and organized in my anesthesia workstation. That's my workplace, so I do my best to keep it comfortable and neat and have like space for myself to kind of sit back, but also monitor the patient and also make it easy for someone to come and give me a break. That's something that I feel like I've gotten to a point where it's pretty good, so I'm happy about that. Little things like that to smooth out the day for myself and for my coworkers is what I'm working on overall with work. Really happy with my choice. I feel like this has been such a fulfilling job. I'm really grateful for this last year in terms of the professional skills that I've developed. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is finances. I really have a huge interest in personal finance. When I was in my clinical year, I would listen to a lot of Graham Stephan. I listened to a little bit of Investing with Rose. So I also have followed finance pages on Instagram. So I try to incorporate finance knowledge throughout my day as much as I could since my clinical year to now, because I knew that I would eventually be moving into a lot of money. So I wanted to learn how to manage it appropriately. One of the accounts that I followed and I'm very inspired by is Strive with Kristen. In terms of Kristen's story, which you can see her on Instagram, she has really cute infographics. Her story is that she was a PA student. Now she's, I think, a critical care PA, and she paid off $160,000 of loans in 16 months. So for me, that was very inspiring. Her story has been a huge motivation and something that was very reassuring. And so that was something that when I was in my clinical year, I really wanted to pay off my loans aggressively. And that was my plan all along. I had a plan of hopefully paying off my loans by the time it was my second birthday out of school. So that would be about 1.5 years out of school. And so I'm very grateful to say that I have the money to pay off my student loans. I have had certain benefits. It might not have been as easy to do this without the benefits of COVID pausing my interest rates, the benefit of President Joe Biden for giving $10,000 in student loans. So those two big benefits were huge for me. The fact that interest was paused, it was about an average of like 6% over all my loans. Because there's been a pause, I've been having the money to pay off the principal versus years of interest that I would have had to pay off. So that already cut off a lot of the increase in the loans that I would have. Then the fact that Joe Biden has done $10,000 in loan forgiveness is another huge thing. And so I qualify for that because in 2021, I was a student for most of the year, 8 months of the year, and then I started working. So with my income from 2021, I am qualified for federal student loan forgiveness, which is huge, which I'm super, super grateful for. When I first started working, I didn't expect the loan pause to continue as far as it would have. So in the beginning, I started working and I paid my highest interest loans. I was taking the avalanche approach to paying off my loans. So then when I saw that Joe Biden was going to increase the loan pause, then I went towards starting my Roth IRA. Also, to break this down, a Roth IRA is money that's invested after taxes. The money that comes into my bank account, I put it into this account. It's already been taxed, this money. It will be able to grow without taxes. So when I take it out in the future, unless they do some sort of legislation changes, but right now, if I take it out in the future, that money, I can remove it after being invested without having to pay taxes on it. For people that invest money, traditionally, you're gonna pay like a 10 to 15% tax rate on the gains that you've had from investing. But with this account, you do not pay any sort of tax on what you have made. So if I put in $6,000 now and it becomes $80,000 in 30 years, I can take out that $80,000 without having to pay taxes on it. And this is one of the only accounts that you could do that. So that's why it's recommended in the personal finance community to invest in this account. For 2021, my Roth IRA was okay to just open a Roth IRA and to invest into a Roth IRA. And I picked a total market index fund. So just to keep on what I was doing in 2021, I can talk a little bit about what I picked and how I went about it, but to keep on my journey, paid off my highest interest student loans. There was another loan pause. So at that point, I put my money into a Roth IRA account with Fidelity. They offered a $100 like little bonus for signing up with Fidelity. So I was like, okay, why not $100? A lot of people do it with Vanguard, but I chose Fidelity for the little bonus that they were giving. So I put $6,000 in for Fidelity with a Roth IRA account. I invested in a US total market index fund. Once I did that, then I saved up for another $6,000 for 2022. So I was able to do that in 2021 without issues. I was under the income limit. Now in 2022, I would be over the income limit. For 2022, my income would be above the $140,000 or so. That is the Roth IRA limit for a single person. But there's something called a backdoor Roth IRA approach. What this is you put money into a traditional IRA, and instead of investing that money, you just hold that money there, you transfer it over from your bank into a traditional IRA, which a traditional IRA account is meant to defer taxes. So from my account to the traditional IRA, then without investing that money, I moved that into a Roth IRA. Now I would invest the money once it's in the Roth IRA account. So that's the backdoor way. I'm very grateful that I'm able to do it. I also saved up money for my move to Florida. For the money that I made in 2021, I paid off loans and it was not growing any interest because it was still during the COVID interest pause, which was awesome. I could put it towards the principal and just bring all that down. I put it towards my highest percent interest rate. Then I put money towards my Roth IRA for 2021. I was under the income limit. There was no issues. I just opened up a Roth IRA account and was able to put the money in, and then I invested that. I basically invested it into a index fund, which I will not have to manage. It's taken care of on its own. I think there's people that every year might meet and like review which companies are successful and which ones aren't, and they will make the composition for that stock and rearrange it. If something is no longer successful, they'll take it out, and if something new has come up, they'll put it in. So it's really nice because it's considered self-cleansing stock to select, so I don't have to ever actively manage and think of which stocks are being successful. I put my money in there. It gets about a 10% return over every year on average. There's some years when it's going to be more, and there's some years where it's going to be less, like this year. This year has been a slow year for the stock market overall, but on average, if you look at like the 30-year history of it, it has been about 10% over the 30-year history each year. So I'm putting it in there. I chose the S&P 500 or the total US market index fund. I was very aggressive about my stock selections. I didn't do any bonds. So for 2022, I did my backdoor Roth IRA. And then when it was there, I picked again a total market US index fund. And that is kind of like a self-cleansing stock. And I also put a little bit into a bond because my family was like, I'm being very aggressive. So I put a little tiny bit into a bond. I think it was like 10% of the total amount that I have is in bonds. So that's what I did for my investments, started doing that. Then for 2022, I got into a new job and I opened my 401k of my job. My job offers me a 401k to invest in. I have to opt into it, so I have to say what percentage I want. I called and I got my benefits, I got my health insurance, and then I called about my 401k. So I found out that my 401k was being invested in some sort of retirement date fund, it seems like. So I said, no, I don't want to do that. I chose to opt out of that, and then I picked the S&P 500 because again, it's a self-cleansing stock. So I figured that will be enough. I don't want to pay any more fees. What I've seen is that fees over time can be so expensive, can cost hundreds of thousands potentially in money 30 years down the line or more. So I said, no, I will put this into a S&P 500 stock and that should take care of it. So then I aimed to max out my 401k, and my job also matches into my 401k money. The good thing about a 401k, this is different from the Roth IRA. With the 401k, taxes are not removed today. They will be removed in the future. So when I take that money out in the future, when I'm in my retirement age and it's time for me to take that money out, that's when I would have to pay taxes on it. Today, my taxes are reduced because I'm putting it into this account. So these are big accounts that people like to highlight: traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401ks, because they help with taxes. They will either reduce taxes today or tomorrow, or in the future essentially. So people suggest to invest into these accounts for retirement. They are tax favored. However, if I take it out too soon, I could pay an extra fee for taking it out too soon. So in that case, I could just do a taxable brokerage account. So I could open a different account with Vanguard or Fidelity, and I can just invest in the S&P 500. No fancy accounts, just a simple investing account, and pay the taxes on that if I want to remove that in 10 years from now. So that's something else, but I haven't done that yet, and I'll get into why I haven't. Basically, I was able to invest as I was saving money for my student debt. And I know that Dave Ramsey says to get your debt down and then invest, and you can do that. For what I would do, I'm not giving advice to anyone else but myself, or what I would do would be to break things down by percentages. So if I had any sort of debt, like credit card debt, and it was 15%, that is where I'm going to throw my money into, because I do not want to have high interest on my debt and have that work against me. If I have a low interest debt, for example, if I got a house and the mortgage rate was 3% over each year for interest, in that case, I probably wouldn't put it into the mortgage, although you could for like peace of mind, maybe you would, but then you could, in that case, kind of leverage that debt. Basically, because that's such a low interest rate that is against you, you can possibly get a better rate by putting extra money towards the stock market, which can return 10%. So I would break things down by percentages. In my case, I figured that I would be able to make enough to invest at the same time as saving for student loan debt. So that's what I did with my investing account. Also, I've lived with my coworker, my roommate, my friend, so that already had cut my rent in half. I'm also living with my boyfriend, so I got to cut my rent in half 2 ways. Although we do pay a little more for our part, but that really helped. I didn't go out and buy a house, although in some cases I feel like that could make sense. For my case, I didn't want to take on more debt before working off this huge debt that I already accumulated. So I've done things like that. My boyfriend is an incredible chef. I've gotten to eat really quality food at home without having to eat out as much. My hospital also pays for some food, so that helps reduce my cost of living overall. So I've had some advantages in those things, but overall too, I don't spend a lot. My monthly spending, it will probably be about $1,500 on average. So that's about a $20,000 living stipend that I've given myself over the last year, and I will say that I've lived pretty comfortably. With my student loan debt, I had gotten sign-on bonuses. I got a tax refund from working in those first few months. I took on a lot of overtime in the beginning of the year, and then by the mid-year time frame, I realized I had a lot of money saved up. Then I opened up a high-yield savings account because it offered an interest rate. It was not very high. I think it was like 1.5%, but that was a higher interest rate than my checkings account. So I ended up opening up a savings account, which even if it's 1.5%, that's much more than I'm getting out of my checkings account. So I opened up a savings account. So then all of my money for my loans, I was putting into the savings account. I also separated buckets. I did an emergency fund bucket and I did a student loans bucket. So that way I can know exactly how much was allocated into each one. For my emergency fund, it'd be probably 2.5 months for how little I spend, but I made an emergency fund for about 2.5 months. And then all of the extra money I put towards my student loan bucket. So then it averaged to be around $10,000 a month that I saved up for my student loans. And now with the fact that President Joe Biden has forgiven some student loans, I have enough to pay off all my debt. Essentially, through the student loan forgiveness program that he has initiated, I will be student loan debt free and debt free in general. That was my only debt, which is an incredible thing. I think had I not had all those advantages of not having interest during school, I did not have interest because of COVID. They did interest pauses for almost 3 years, so that saved a lot in interest. Having over 6 figures of student loan debt, interest really can add up a lot. So had I not had that, and had I not had the student loan forgiveness through President Joe Biden, I feel like that could have added more months of my student loan payoff, more months of aggressively paying off student loans and like really living below my means, taking on more overtime. It is an incredible feeling. I'm really happy. I feel like, again, that's also part of my journey of feeling like I could be more myself. I'm forever grateful for this job and how fulfilling it is and how well compensated it is. It's incredible. I'm very happy that I could do this job. I feel like not a lot of professions can say that the job pays well enough where people can save up enough and pay off their student debt in under 2 years. I know some of my friends might take 2 or 3 years. They might have some more debt. I have done a couple of things to live below my means, which has helped a lot. It does make me feel like in the worst case scenario, should something happen and I'm no longer employed within the next couple of months, at least I have gotten myself back to a little bit over $0 of net worth, which is still something. It's better than having negative 6 figures net worth, which is a huge blessing to be able to be in this place now. It's crazy because I don't know, like it's just kind of like I'm still living my life as I've always been. I'm still trying to not overspend my money, although I did let myself buy some new clothes. Since paying off my student debt, I treated my sister to like some ramen and coffee. I also treated my boyfriend to a little bit of coffee. I bought myself $200 worth of clothes. So I don't think I'm gonna go crazy. I'm not gonna live above my means. I will say that my parents helped me during school, so I'm planning on paying back and repaying them through many years, through investing for them or giving it to them for them to invest. So I'm still going to work something out with my parents to help them the way that they've helped me and help them with their future. I gave myself a timeline of a year and about 6 months after graduating and after starting work, because I started work very shortly after graduating. But I gave myself that timeline to pay off my student loans. Before the interest pause, I was giving myself 2 to 2.5 year timeline to pay off my debt, but now I've surpassed it. So I'm still going to do the same habits that I have been for the last year, and now I'm moving towards a different goal. Now my goal is to have $1 million net worth by the age of 40. So that's for me about 12 years from now. I'm focused on reaching financial independence, which is incredible. Like I'm so happy to be at this step. You know, that negative 6 figure net worth that I was in, and now start building past zero to have $1 million net worth. My goals are to invest $60,000 every year into an S&P 500. I've already invested at least $30,000 with my Roth IRAs and with my 401k. So that's about a $30,000 starting place for my investments. And then again, $60,000 every single year for 12 years to get me to about $1 million with a conservative return on investment of 6%. So it definitely could be higher. The average for the S&P 500 has been higher, but there are downturns in the market. I'm not going to overthink it. I've already kind of accounted for some of those downturns mentally and mathematically. So if for some reason the market doesn't do as well as it's done for the last 30 years, and if it does basically half of the return it has over the last 30 years, then at least I could get myself to be close to that $1 million net worth. And again, my living expenses currently have been around $20,000 for this year. So if I had $1 million, I could possibly live off, I believe, $40,000 for 30 years. Not that I plan on doing that, but I could do that and basically be financially independent by the age of 40. Now I can still choose to work, and I most likely will still choose to work to maintain the nest egg that I plan on building so that I can pay for my cost of living and not really touch what I've invested. But if I do want to travel a little bit, I know that I've already accumulated wealth and I don't have to really worry about that retirement age for myself. So I do still plan on working past the age of 40. I'm saying all of this because I really hope to show a path for any other students, any other anesthesia students, but also for people that are not in anesthesia. You can also open up a Roth IRA. If you're under the $140,000 income limit, you can open that up. If you made $30,000 this year, you can open up this account, pay the taxes now and not worry about paying the taxes later. You might not feel comfortable to max out that account, but you can at least get the knowledge to know that there are these accounts that exist that can set you up for financial independence in the future. So that's why I'm trying to be as thorough as possible, as clear as possible. This is not financial advice, but this is what I would do if I was 25 years old. Even if I wasn't in anesthesia, I was making an income of $70,000. I would look to max out my 401k, max out my 403b, whatever the company provides, and max out a Roth IRA. I would look at how much I've been spending for the year and see what my retirement amount is and work toward putting an amount for that. And the earlier that you can do it, the better. It's crazy to see what compound interest can do. I hope that you have gained something from this. Again, not financial advice, but I think very valuable information to know about financial independence, and I think it's very empowering to do this for ourselves because there's a huge issue with retirement in the United States. So I feel like the more we can help ourselves, the better. So again, Roth IRA, 401k, that's what I've done. I basically paid off my loans. I have the money for it, but it is in my high yield savings account. I'm not going to transfer it over until I know I have to pay it off at the very end of the year when the interest pause is over. I'm going to let that money gain a little bit of interest. I think it's a 2% interest now. 2% on 6 figures of money is still a good amount of money, more money than it would be in a checkings account. So I'm keeping that in my high yield savings account. And when it's time to pay off my debt, I'm going to move that over to my account and I will pay off my debt. In terms of how I've been able to live my past year, I do feel like my quality of life again is really positive, living in a beautiful complex. What I've been able to afford has been really nice. Again, I did my best to keep those costs down, but I've also gone on international trips. I did a little bit of credit card hacking to be able to take these really nice vacations. I use the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card. I get nothing out of anything that I've mentioned. I have no affiliations with any of these things. I'm just saying this because this is what I've done and I wish I knew about it sooner. I learned about credit card points. I had always kind of heard about it, but never really understood it. And again, not coming from a lot of money, I didn't know what I could do with it. So I used the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card. I learned about it at the very end of my clinical year. I opened up this card, and for spending $4,000 in 3 months, I would get 100,000 bonus points. I paid $95 to open up this card. So those 100,000 bonus points could be redeemed through Chase for $1,000. So I could get $1,000 back for basically spending what I would have spent anyway. And that's the only thing I did with this. Maybe I spent a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I spent a little more on my groceries. Nothing too crazy. I spent $4,000, things that I would already be spending money on. I opened that account, I spent that money, and I got that bonus points. I could have redeemed those bonus points, but what I did instead was I went to Cabo, Mexico, and I went to, I believe, a 5-star hotel, and I went with my boyfriend, and that whole vacation, it was a week-long vacation. I spent a total of $300, just me. And that includes food, that includes the Uber prices, that includes anything that we did, the total expenses, the taxes on the flights. So for 100,000 points, I basically put that towards staying in the Hyatt hotels. So I stayed in like one of the more standard Hyatt hotels, and then I also stayed in a 5-star hotel. I was able to use a credit card to do that kind of vacation, and now I'm currently planning a second vacation with my boyfriend. I've taken a couple vacations now. I'm planning on taking 2 more. Traveling, I really truly feel like this is such an awesome profession, and it's amazing that it compensates so well. So that's my whole finance journey. None of this stuff is sponsored, just all information that I wish I knew about sooner. In terms of now my health journey, I have had a trend of going to school and being very stressed out about school and eating when I'm studying. When I went back to school, again, the stress eating. When I went to my clinical year, I was moving around a lot. I would look for very cheap things to eat. I was trying to do that like rice and beans kind of diet, except I wasn't eating that. I was eating like canned food and chips as my diet because it was cheaper, and I was like, okay, like I'm trying to save as much as I can on my loans. Honestly, it wouldn't even make as much of a difference to eat a little bit better. It probably would have been like another $2,000 if I had let myself eat better quality food. And looking back on it now, even though it takes time to make that money, it would have been easier to pay it off rather than not take care of myself. So during my clinical year, I had a habit of eating cheap food, of eating canned food, chips, not going to the gym at all. So definitely my health by the end of it was not where it should have been. I had gained a lot of weight. Now looking back with the money that I can make now, I definitely could have afforded to eat better and treat myself better. I don't think people should overspend. Like I don't think that people should just always say like I'm gonna treat myself today. And you know, some people could, but I feel like that comes at a price. I wouldn't just overspend, but at least pay for good quality things and, you know, look after my own health. That's something that I wish I could do better. So since then, I've been more consistent going to the gym. I eat salads more for lunch. I am vegan. I have lost at least 10 pounds or so since starting work. And one would think with more responsibility, I would have been stressed out more, but the stability of working has been really nice. Living with my partner, who is an incredible chef and provides really good meals, my quality of life has definitely gone up. I'm doing my best now to go to the gym every day as much as I can. I do notice a big difference when I go to the gym. I notice I'm much more happier. I feel like I'm more pleasant to be around, so I think that's also a good part of looking after your own health. I've done my best to keep track of my health overall, so I'm very, very grateful to have the stability that I have had in the last year. That's something that I have been missing for a long time. Cardio, weightlifting, my boyfriend is incredible with weightlifting, and we have a program that we do legs all in one day, and then we do like our upper body all in one day. And we don't overdo it, we just do like 1 or 2 sets per machine basically for each day. We also keep track of that, and we keep track of it every time we go. We see the improvements, or we'll see if we've gone down, if it's been a long time, and that's been really good to measure our progress. And that's been a huge improvement, I think, or a big help to have an Excel sheet to keep track of each time of how much you're doing. Because I know that I've been someone that goes to the gym and I'm just like, okay, like I'm gonna go to this machine and I'll go to that machine, and it's nice, at least you're going to the gym, that's good. But I feel like in terms of making progress, I think it's been good to just keep track of what we've been working out, how many sets we've done, how many reps we've done, how much weight, and be consistent with that and be very good with what we eat. I will just say this about being vegans. I think there's an average of like 10 pounds that people lose by being vegan. So I really have appreciated this journey, and although I could easily just go to work and pick up meat and eat that, I haven't done it. So I think that's been an awesome part of my journey as well. And the last part of my journey has been YouTube. So I really appreciate the community that I have here. I get probably 95% of positive comments, and it's really nice. YouTube has been something that I've always wanted to do. I filmed so many videos, and I still have videos from before when I was in clinicals, but it's just, I feel kind of shy to still release that footage. But again, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to put my voice out there. I feel like I've accumulated a lot of knowledge that I've wanted to share, and it's really nice to have a space now and creative outlet to put that information out there and have a community that I can be helping. I've bought like a new computer because it's meant that much for me, so I really appreciate all of the support that I've had, and I hope that I can continue to grow with this community, and this community continues to grow with me. As of right now, I think I have like 1,000 subscribers, so that's a huge thing. But I feel super blessed to have finally done something that I've wanted to do for many years. It's been awesome overall. I know that there's room for me to grow as a YouTuber, but this has been a great journey the past year. So very, very grateful for everything that has come from this journey. So that is my year-long reflection. If you're more interested in seeing more vlogs, I will be doing more of that, but I do feel like it could be really nice to note the person behind the content. So that's what I'm hoping to do here. And I really hope that people learn some things. Again, personal finance is huge, and I feel like it's super empowering to take control of that and understand that. There's a lot that I've learned in the last year, a lot more that I hope to learn, and I have so many goals for my future. I have so many goals for this channel. So if you enjoyed this video, I hope that you come back and that you subscribe to this channel. So please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, or if there's something that stood out to you from this conversation that I've had, or this information that I've shared, please let me know in the comments. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. Let me know if you want to see more finance content, you want to see more vlogs, you want to see more question and answers. Just let me know what you want this page to be, and I'll be my best to be receptive to that. I do have a lot of videos in mind that I want to do. There's just balancing that with work, and this is still a very important community to me, so I do my best to prioritize it and put my time into it. So I promise I see the request. Anyone that knows me, I have so many pages of Google Documents. I have pages of ideas for this channel. If you have any video requests, I'm going to do my best to do it. I will add it to my to-do list, my growing to-do list at this point, but I will do my best to make some sort of content related to whatever it is that you request. So otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and I catch you all next time. See you.